collection of great hip stretches which are so important for creating hip mobility. A lot of patients that we see, either kind of runners or people who enjoy lots of walking or kind of lots of forms of sport, often complain of hip tightness and that feeling of restriction through there. So here are some of my favourite and some of my patients' favourite hip stretches to do. So your first one is just in sitting, and you're going to pop the soles of your feet together and just allow the knees to gently drop down. And sometimes when we first start this exercise, our knees are right up here, and that's absolutely fine. We've got to try and get them to open out as much as possible, but taking our time with that. It might be kind of something that you work on over a few weeks to try and get that kind of suppleness and flexibility, to try and allow those knees to drop down. When you're doing the stretch, I often find it's helpful if you kind of hold your ankles, and then that allows you to be able to sit up nice and tall rather than kind of slumping through the stretch. To make it a little bit easier, you can sometimes just take your feet a little bit further away from you to give you that chance to get that stretch. And it does feel like a really deep stretch. Often people find it really quite uncomfortable to begin with. It feels like, really kind of pulling into the groin, but it's a great way to stretch those muscles on the inside. And then what you can start to do to make it more difficult is kind of work your way kind of leaning forward and gradually trying to get down, down towards your toes to get that stretch. But to start with, this is a great way to do it. And just taking some nice deep breaths in and out. Great to do after a long walk or a long run or any form of exercise to make sure we're stretched out through our adductors. Especially for horse riders, this exercise, because we use these muscles on our inside of our legs a lot, so it's a great way to stretch those out. So that's stretch number one. From here, I call it the 90-90. So you take one leg into 90 degrees and then same with the other. So you've got a 90 here and a 90-degree angle here. And you're trying to relax both sitting bones down in towards the mat, but making sure the knees don't lift off. Imagine you've got super glue on there. From here, you can do a little twist. So you're going to twist towards the back foot, but keeping that feeling of that hip sinking down into the mat. So the tendency is it wants to just lift up and point up, so our sitting bone isn't down onto the mat, but that won't get that really nice stretch through the leg. And a little rotation as well, always good for a little bit of mid-back rotation as well and flexibility. And then you can do the same on the other side. So you go 90 at the front, 90 at the back, a little shuffle, and then you can do the same again. Really trying to get that hip to drop down in towards the mat, really sinking. Good. And then you can feel that great stretch there. And with the stretches, just nice deep breaths, and try and go for longer holds. At the start, everything will feel a bit more uncomfortable, but then you can gradually build up your holds to get that flexibility. Good. And then from here, you come onto all fours, and then one that's kind of sometimes termed the pigeon. So hands underneath shoulders, knees underneath hips. You're going to take one knee back slightly, and the other foot hooks to the outside of that foot, and then you straighten the leg behind you, which creates the stretch. And you can really feel it into the bottom, like on the right side, but then into the front of the hip on the left side, so it's kind of like a two-in-one, this stretch. You can increase the stretch by taking that foot slightly further away from you, but again, you can kind of build up to doing that. And again, within this exercise, there's a couple of variations. You can be nice and tall and upright. You can be down onto your forearms, or you can take your hands out in front of you and get the stretch that way, whichever one feels the most beneficial for you. And then you just do the same the other side. So you take the other knee back, you'd hook to the outside, and then you straighten away. So it's a great stretch because it helps to stretch out the glutes on one side, but then the hip flexors on the other side. Then from here, you go back onto all fours, then you're going to step your left foot in between both hands, kind of gently get that leg back, kind of crawl it back, and then from here, you come up upright, and then even from here you can take the arms back to get that little bit of extension. Again, you can get that little bit of a stretch through the front, but it's really stretching the front of the opposite leg through there. Good, and you can hold that. All right, and some variations, even some nice rotation from here as well. So you can do the same on the other side, where you bring your foot through, you try and get that leg back, and then once you've got your balance, you then come up. Good, and again, you can take your arms over the top of your head to increase the stretch. You can even add in some rotation as well. Nice way to combine stretches. So not only can you release the hips, you can get a little bit of upper body rotation as well. And then those are a really great selection of hip stretches. So see how you get on with those. At the start they will all feel a little bit uncomfortable, but the more you do them, the easier they will get, and you'll really start to feel a little bit more supple and flexible through your hips to hopefully reduce injuries as well. Enjoy! Bye!